the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we're going to be talking about Day 4, Day 3 and Day 2, actually. It's a triple day show of the 5th Test between India and England at Edgbaston. It's been a stormer of a match. There's plenty to get through. England have batted badly and they batted well. India have batted badly and they batted well. There's been bowling of all shapes and sizes. Some questionable fielding. And we suspect probably a relatively small audience compared to some of our other shows.
Oh wait, cry more.
You don't need to start like that, do you? You're just upset that somebody said that to you on Twitter. And
yeah, I was. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Ross, who immediately has kicked off the show by baiting people. How are you doing?
Why change tact? I do this all the time. I'm great, mate. After I do think I'm a bit of a curse, and we'll go into me being a bit of a curse later on. But I went to Edgbaston over the weekend, and had a great time, but also a lot of rain. But today, what a game! What a day of cricket! What a day of cricket!
I have to say, I mean, before we get into any of the details, I think India and England is my favourite series. Way better than the Ashes. I mean, I just straight up. I thought this for a while. And I think I talked about it last year. I don't know any Australians. The Australian side, there's all the fake posh bullshit that comes with Australia. The people, the regatta boys, getting overly into the one cricket series they watch every 4 years. It gets on my nerves a little bit.
The regatta boys.
You know what I mean? Yeah, the boat shoot.
Henry, I absolutely love the old
exactly.
Love the cricket.
Exactly. They can't jive with India because they don't know how to relate to what they're watching.
Yeah, you're right.
You can read between the lines on that statement a little bit, I think. But
I was about to make it very explicit.
But they're not really about, are they? They don't know what to say. They just moan about the IPL instead of sort of enjoying the game, and it's been an incredible series. And there's still life in it. Still at least an hour or two in the morning. I'd have thought. Ross, messages for the listeners. We're sponsorless today for maybe the last show for a little while. If anyone else wants to get in touch, cricketpod@gmail.com. We'll always take sponsorship offers, opportunities, whatever. But we do have some other ways that our listenership, our viewership can support the show, right?
Yeah, we do. You can follow us at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram. There was a great picture posted this weekend of me with Joe Root and Matty Potts. So if that's the kind of content you're after, get on Instagram, get on Twitter, and also go to Patreon, patreon.com/cricket podcast. You get access to Discord, all the IPL data, and we've got special shows, exclusive shows on there, and we'll make sure that we're always kind of interacting with our fans through that medium as well. It's been a good success story, the Discord.
Discord's really good fun. We had another good day, I think, didn't we? It was a very lively day until, I got told it was until Nick Kyrgios kicked off on centre court. I think that there was something else happening at the same time that maybe made it go a little bit quieter. But, right, Ross, Jack and I, we got together, Jack and Jack, on Friday night to talk about the opening stanza of this match. Do you want to really quickly bring us up to speed? We've got 2.5 innings to get through, so not loads of detail, but the key points that we might come back to and address in the next half an hour or so.
Sure. So on Saturday, it was England with the ball in hand trying to dismiss India, and England did the classic thing where they could not quite get the tail out, and I think the tail added about 90 runs, and 1/3 of those came in 1 over, where Jasprit Bumrah went off against Stuart Broad. Stuart Broad has now got the record for most runs conceded in over in T20 internationals, the famous Yuvraj Singh over, and now genuine number 11, Jasprit Bumrah, took him to the cleaners, which was, I was in the ground, I was watching this in the ground, and nobody could understand what Stuart Broad was doing, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But Bumrah as captain, came out leading from the front, did a fantastic job with the bat, and did some really valuable runs. And then with the ball up front, took 3 wickets, dismissing the top order of England. And yes, it was really start-stop, and there was a little bit of luck involved. But at the same time, you've still got to bowl really well when the conditions are in your favour. India did that, put England on the back foot, but they could not get Johnny Bairstow out. And that was the key part. They couldn't get him out. And then the next day on Sunday, him and Ben Stokes came out and had 2 very different innings of Bazball. One was frenetic, one was kind of charging down the pitch at everything and not really being in control, but trying to establish a bit of fluency. Whilst Johnny Bairstow at the other end was in full control, brilliant kind of shot playing, and Virat Kohli got in his face, didn't he? Virat Kohli was Virat Kohli was the fuel to the Johnny Bairstow
professional
fire.
Sledger. Virat Kohli.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what do you do, Pat? No. What do you do, Bowl? No. What do you do, Field? No. I talk shit. But that's what ended up happening. Bairstow hit a century, but unfortunately, England conceded a big chunky lead, a big chunky deficit to India, who were over 130 ahead, I think it was.
Ballpark,
maybe a little bit more. And India were in full control of that game. Anderson got Gill out in an identical fashion, which will be a little bit frustrating for big Gill fans. Shub Goat, as he's known on our Discord. And then they started to build it in.
Sachin Tendulkar's daughter's fiance. As I got tricked into saying on like 3 IPL shows. And what ended up happening was that Pujara put down the anchor, didn't he? It was a classic Pujara innings, exactly what India kind of wanted, bat a bit of time, be frustrating, and looks like to set up a platform for Rishabh Pant to come in. And Richard Pant did what he did. He got another 50, looked in good nick, and then Jack Leach had been kept back. He'd been kept back because of the brutality which Pant has dealt with him before, and then managed to get him out reverse sweeping. It was the most peculiar dismissal, and yeah, you live by the sword, die by the sword. And then India just, again, I'm not really sure what their plan was. They were throwing caution to the wind, but being really cautious. It was very, very strange, very odd. They didn't really do what they needed to do in terms of batting time, and they left the door slightly ajar for England, setting them 378 to win. And then today, it was Matthew Hayden decided to open the batting for England, full pomp, with Zach Crawley in full flow, and England reached 100 for none off of 19.5 overs, a record. It's the fastest England have ever got to 100 in Test match cricket. And then the wheels started to come off. And all too familiar England fans, you've seen this script before, where you lose a wicket, you quickly lose 2, and 3 is just round the corner with a comedy run out, which Joe Root barbecued, which I heard this term randomly, but now it's being picked up a little bit more. So yeah, barbecued Alex Lees, who was looking like on course for his first Test match century. I'd be fucking livid if I was Lees. Bold claim here. Like he was out on 56. He's only just halfway there,
mate. He was smashing it everywhere. He was smashing it everywhere. I'm you know me, Jack. I'm a half glass full.
He's not out in the 90s though, is he?
No, it's not in the 90s, but it's for the narrative that I want to build right now. Okay. That's what we're going to say. Yeah. And then after that, Joe Root channeled it. He fully channeled that guilt. Sometimes you see people capitulate, don't you? Like we've played in cricket games, Jack, where you run somebody out, and then the person, or someone runs someone out, and that person who's run them out cannot deal with the pain.
Here's the thing, though, Ross. Here's the thing. Yeah, if Joe Root killed my dog, I'd give him the benefit of the doubt. Like I'm not. I'm not angry at him at all. I don't think anyone can be. Like we just gotta accept that as part of the package. Yeah. You know, the odd innocent bystander might fall.
Yeah, fine. We'll go with that. So if you're not a dog man though, so if it's your cat, maybe
I don't own a dog.
Yeah, but there we go. But then
if he killed the cat, I'd let it go.
Fair. All right. Fine. So, alleged serial animal killer Joe Root got away with murder. No, he didn't. And then Bairstow came in and did what Bairstow did. Right. Those two batted really well together. They brought up their 150 partnership, and England are now on top. England are well on top. It's gone from India being in complete control and some interesting tactics that we'll get into has given England an opportunity in probably the morning session tomorrow to go and win this cricket game.
We're going to say hello to some people on our YouTube channel, because we never do that, do we? I mean, there's the people that have bothered to turn up. You had 400 on Friday night when it was looking good for India. 27. 27 on Monday night. I don't. Maybe this is prime time. Maybe there's a good show on another channel. But hello, Vic, Amit, Saturday, and Jamie Burnett, who we used to play football with. Works at Sussex, I think, doesn't he? So, yeah,
he does,
everyone.
Yeah. Hello.
Well done, everyone, for turning up. Ross, where do you want to start?
Let's go to Sunday. Let's go back to Saturday.
Tell me about your day at Edgbaston, because we haven't caught up. We were supposed to do it yesterday, and then we didn't. So, what was Edgbaston like?
Edgbaston was cold and wet on the day, and I have been to Edgbaston 3 times, well, 5 times, but 3 times for Test matches, and I think I might be a bit of a curse. And I'm really sorry for all the people who ended up at Edgbaston on Saturday, because I think you can only blame me. It was a rain-affected day. I've now seen Steve Smith, Devon Conway, and Ravi Jadeja all score Test match hundreds against England. And Ravi Jadeja was only 20-odd, 30-odd runs, but still, it's still another century. And I've never seen an England player hit a century there. So it's not
Bumrah
great.
Hit 35 in an over.
I did see history, that was pretty mad, because, as I said in the match summary, it was absolutely ridiculous. Like Bumrah the brute, he smashed Stuart Broad everywhere, and I'm not even joking. Every ball, you knew it was going. Like it was everyone in the stadium was just like, what the hell is going on? And Stuart Broad here looked like one of the guys in our team who had never played cricket before, let alone someone who's just taken their 550th Test match wicket. There was no plan. There was no thought process. It was just a borderline tantrum with toys being thrown out of the pram and into the abyss. And Bumrah took full advantage. And for your first ever innings as a captain, it couldn't have got a record breaker. Like, who could have seen that coming?
Yeah. Well, apparently not Stuart Broad, but also, as you tell the story, about
everyone in the stadium,
15,000 people. 15,001 people there, and the one person that needed to see it coming didn't. Okay, so that didn't go so well. And then you got to see Bairstow. That must have been pretty good fun. It rained. I presume you just drank quite a lot of Thatcher's Gold during the rain break.
Stowford Press was the one that was on tap this time. There's quite a little bit of that consumed. But what was really interesting about this, Jack, was the fact that I tweeted out when I was there that India had been ridiculously lucky, and I got a few cry more things, which is why I introduced the show like that way.
Why is it cry more?
It's for us crying because we're losing to India, and yet when India are on the back foot, we can't say cry more to them. Weird, eh?
You have like 5 times.
I have, which is fine.
You can't be like one of those free speech people that say you can't say anything anymore, and then proceeds to say
that gets views, mate.
Yeah, shock Jock Ross. Yeah,
shock Jock Ross. But the rain interruptions were perfect for India. They are absolutely perfect. And absolutely horrendous for England, on the other hand. The conditions were perfect for bowling. There was a blue sky in the area. It was clouds everywhere. And India had the dynamic trio of Bumrah, Shami and Siraj to come in, right? They could all bowl at full tilt. They could then go and rest for an hour and then come back and do it exactly again. And people saying, oh, that's not lucky. That's just kind of England won the toss, chose to bowl first, whatever, serves them right. Fine. But Shami bowled 17 overs in a row. That's a 17-over opening spell.
Good stamina.
And it was bowling at 90 miles an hour for half of that. You're just like, that just never happens. And in those conditions, you have to make it count. And India bowled fantastically well. They bowled really, really well. The ball to get Lees was good. There's a couple of dodgy shots, again, from kind of Jack Crawley and Ollie Pope. And then Joe Root to Siraj was a bit of a strange dismissal. But again, India were well on top. And the ground, everyone was just like, oh no, old England are back and all that kind of stuff. And it was just very, very strange. But it was still enjoyable. Live cricket's always great.
Mm-hmm. I can't, looking back on that day, I think it's quite difficult to fathom how we're going to be going into day 5 and England need 119 to win with 7 wickets still to go. Because India at the end of Saturday, you'd won the match, really. Maybe not at the end of Saturday. Maybe yesterday lunchtime. Huge lead, 130 runs. 130 runs. Haven't had to bowl that long either. What was it? England's innings was only 61 overs. This is the other mad thing about this. I mean, actually, I'll get onto this. But like, for both the first innings was really fast, and the fourth innings was really fast. Going into the third innings, so I think this is where India have actually left themselves a little bit exposed. Now, you can't game plan, to be perfectly fair to India getting your leaders through. You can't really game plan for what England's openers did, or for Bairstow and Root in the form they're in. But I think 375 really sells short how dominant India had been in the Test match until this morning. I mean, this morning they probably start the day as a 90% favourite to win, and now they've maybe got a 20% chance of winning. It's a real shocker.
It's a balls up, isn't it?
To be honest,
yeah. The last 7 wickets fell for 92 runs. So that's a proper collapse.
Who are we going to blame? Who are you going to apportion blame to here? So I've got a few candidates. Can I run through some candidates? I think you can write off Shubman Gill. I think tough job, very tough gig, being an Asian opening batter coming to England and facing Anderson. He won't be the first. He might be one of the last, but he definitely wasn't the first batter to come and have that happen to him.
Yeah.
Vihari, frankly, looks out of his depth. Crawley.
It was looking good. It was looking good, wasn't he? And everyone was just like, everyone wants him to hit a century. All the commentators, all the players are just like, just hit a century. And yet, it was an absolute.
Question.
It was a Jaffa. It was a Jaffa from Ben Stokes getting out.
Did you want him to hit a century?
I never wanted him to hit a century ever again. I've hit 5 centuries in the time that he's not hit a century. So I've got a great lead right now.
Yeah. That is true. It was a pretty shocking way to get out as well, wasn't it? Caught one-handed by Root after Billings has dropped the easiest catch of the match.
Yeah, it was both lucky and unlucky at the same time.
It was extremely unlucky to get that ball, then extremely lucky that it was dropped, and then extremely unlucky that it was it was caught. It was a luck sandwich. Crawley was victim to a luck sandwich. Okay, people to blame. Pujara scoring at such a slow rate in a match where everyone else has been going at 5 and over. Scale of 1 to 10. How much blame are you apportioning?
I'm not blaming Pujara that much. I don't think.
No blame.
I think when it comes to what Pujara had to do in that single bit was that India had to bat time. India had to score runs, but they had to bat England out of the game, not give them enough time to do what they're doing today. And I think Pujara was trying to do that, and he needed people around him to kind of do it. So I think if you're looking at people who have come into this side, you've not mentioned Shreyas Iyer yet. He has some of the blame. Crawley got unlucky, got lucky in the luck sandwich, and Vihari as well. I think.
Well, we're going through. This is how the blameometer. I'm calling the shots on the blameometer.
Oh, sorry. I reckon Pujara's a 3. He's a 3 out of 10.
Okay, all right.
3 out of 10.
Shreyas Iyer bounced out for the second time in the match.
Matt, he looks out of his depth, doesn't he? I think you tweeted saying, "Where the hell is Shreyas Iyer averaging 52?" Because it's not in England.
It's not in England, is it? He averages 12 in England. Can you blame somebody for being bad in conditions that are not?
I think it was such an obvious trap. And we're like Shreyas Iyer he's captain of a franchise. He is thought to be kind of the next hot thing off the block, right? And he's let himself down here. I'm going to 6 out of 10. I think your role at that point is to come in 6 or 7 out of 10 is the blame on Shreyas Iyer's shoulders.
If we discount Gill, Vihari, and Crawley for not maybe being around for long enough to influence the match. I don't know if there's anything you want to blame to.
Gill's a 1 out of 10.
Okay.
He's low on the scale.
Yep.
Vihari, Amit Dubey has put in the chat. He said, "I will say it. Read it out loud. Say I wrote it." Vihari looks out of depth. Fine. He did look out of depth. I reckon he's a 4. I reckon Vihari's a 4. Kohli's in. Kohli's in that position. He's got a bit unlucky, but there's got to be blame there. You've got to be cashing in. There's a 5 out of 10 blame.
So, are you saying here that Rishabh Pant is most to blame then? Because you're only given out a 6 so far, and it all went wrong at some point. Is that what we're going for?
I'm coming in to blame Pant. That's what I'm going to do. I
want to hear the argument.
I absolutely love Rishabh Pant. He was brilliant in the first innings, and he has made batting look so easy on this deck. He has forced England to completely change their bowling tactics to him, completely change their mindset of it. And we got a frontline spinner who's taken a 10fer in the last Test match, and he's not been allowed to bowl he's bowled 10 overs in 4 days, and then only comes in when he's got 57, which was a bit of a gamble from Stokes anyway to get the wicket. Rishabh Pant didn't have to play that shot. And I know Richard Pants comes into the bit where he lives and dies by the sword. And I love that about him. But in this situation, you have to play the situation. Did he really have to be reverse sweeping Jack Leach who's bowling into the rough just outside the left-hander's eye line? Did he really have to do it? No. But there's still got to be blame associated with you. Yeah,
I mean, I'm kind of inclined to agree. If we're saying that England have bowled well and got out some of these guys, and there's to some extent in cricket you can't be blamed for being got out. Like Shubman Gill, Kohli's the real case in point here, isn't he? Like what's he supposed to do? Like how are you supposed to play that ball? You just
can't.
Yeah. Rishabh Pant is the master of his own demise, which is why I'd have him high on the blameometer as well. He's batting at a time. I got the impression that India might have had a conversation that what they needed to do was make sure they got to 300, and then anything over that was sort of a bit of a bonus, and they could have a little bit of fun, because it's difficult to find another explanation for why you would play such a needless cricket shot when you're in position of I wouldn't say maximum strength, but let's have a look. When is Rishabh Pant out? Let's actually do the maths on this. 198 for 6 he falls. So at that point they have a 335 run lead. That's good. Mm-hmm. That is good. But you've just seen England bat last and chase
3 times.
Yeah, chase scores in that ballpark 3 times, really, really comfortably. I don't know if they have had the conversation about what a reasonable score was, and that they had gone past that, and therefore he was like, well, I'm just gonna have some fun and see if I can play this shot. Then that's unbelievable hubris to have done that. And if they haven't, and he knows the game's still on the line, then talk me through the thought process here. There is rough. There's a catcher at slip. It's a shot. I'm going to be honest here. I don't think he can really play. He plays it, and my evidence for this is he plays it 9 times every time he bats and never hits the ball. Or when he does, he goes straight up in the air. He did it to Anderson once actually in Chennai, and it was like that. He did
best shot of all time.
That was a success. Now he's chasing the dragon. He needs to. He needs some cricketing methadone to get off.
To wean him off it.
To wean him off that. Yeah, I don't know, why didn't he just fucking belt it over long on?
This is my bit, and this is the bit that I want challenging in the live chat on YouTube right now, is that Pant has hit loads of runs, right? He's hit loads of runs in this game. He was 10 runs away from hitting the most runs by a wicketkeeper in England in a Test match. And you're sitting there going, he could have done it. The pitch was fine. He was in complete control. England were gambling on bringing Jack Leach in, and he literally fell into the most obvious.
Yeah. No, England were like, this is the last throw of the dice in some senses. They were like, look, the ball's old. What was there, 10, 15 overs to the new ball, something like that. Maybe even a bit more. Hold on, let's get this absolutely right as well for the real context.
I think it's about 10.
18 overs. It was within 18 overs of the new ball, just within 18 overs. And England are like, well, nothing else has worked. So
you've gone for 10 and over, mate, against this guy. Do you want to have a go?
Yeah. It was complete bait bowling, and he's played one of the only shots I think that get him out there, and so yeah. It's all Rishabh Pant's fault.
Well, yeah, I don't want him to. I don't want him to change. But there was a game here. If you would have taken, say the Ricky Ponting Australia team, they would have just batted. They would have batted and batted and batted. They would have got 500, and just be like, "You're not fucking winning this game. We're going to back up."
They should have got 450 ahead.
Yeah, and easy. It should have been a walk in the park. How many times were England trying to change the ball? That's so many.
I don't mean that. Even at the point where Rishabh Pant is out, so Shreyas Iyer is out on 190 2 overs ago. So another reason not to play that shot, to be perfectly honest, is that one of your last recognised batsmen has just walked off. You've made, what do they make with Jadeja and Pant in partnership in the first innings? 200.
Yeah.
You're batting with that guy. Ball's old. You've got 18 overs to whack it around till England get a new ball. If you go at 4 and over, which you're well capable of doing in that time without taking any risk, then you're up at 400, and then whatever you get with the new ball's a bonus, or 450 ahead. And England
and back yourself.
England right now still need 200 to win, 220 to win.
Yeah.
Like it's.
Yeah. I agree, mate. I agree. And I think in the chat we've been challenged that they've got off scot-free. Like I don't see how you blame Gill in this scenario. He's got out to two decent balls. Yes, he could have left it, but it's really difficult to play Anderson. If you've forgotten, Anderson's quite good at bowling in England. Virat got an unbelievable delivery from Ben Stokes. For Hari, we've said it's just not good enough to play Test cricket already. So what even more damning statement could we possibly give him?
Not in England anyway. Not like that. You have to have a shot that might score you runs, and he doesn't. Just sort of stands there. It's like Pujara, but without any run-scoring opportunities instead of just a couple. Shreyas Iyer as well. There's a problem there. Like you can't be bounced out twice by they're not. If it's Jofra Archer bowling fast at Lords, circa 2019, I can see that happening. I can see, that's a little bit different. Having a weakness against a short ball in that circumstance is a little bit different to Matty Potts at 83 miles an hour. There you go, mate, mid-wicket. You should never be out. If you're a top order batter, you should never be out caught at mid-wicket, mistiming a ball like that.
And and what's even more frustrating, and it must be for all the Indian fans listening to this, is that how obvious it was. And we kind of said it before. It was just such an obvious thing.
He did it about 3 balls before he was out, and England were like, the guy at deep mid-wicket, Stokes was like, I'll just come in, and we'll see if he's stupid enough to do it again. Like, he obviously can't play the shot, so we'll see if he can put it away. And he was. Literally. He'd come in, the guy, the fielder was basically waving a big, I'm here to try and catch you out flag. And he obliged. Pretty astonishing. Anyway, they get ahead, and then we want to talk about England batting, or is there anything else that we've
so I think what we need to think of is that when England's innings beforehand, we kind of jumped straight into kind of what was happening. But Bairstow's century was again brilliant. His 3rd consecutive century, which is just absolutely mad. And instantly, the same people who were cheering Bazball or Muck Stokes, as we called it on the last podcast,
Muck Stokes, yeah.
They were chastising it and being just like, what are England doing? Kind of, this is typical, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, we joke around it being typical, but we don't really care. Really, like, it's funny if England lose because it means loads of Indian fans come on and watch the podcast. If England win, it's really funny to have a bit of respite, right? But Bazball, Muck Stokes, it's a journey, not a destination, is my view on the whole mantra. It's a cultural thing that they're trying to adopt, and it's a way of life. And I don't really understand. It's a way of like this, and you've got to let me go on this one. Okay. So I don't understand why people are getting so angry about it. We've just lost. Well, we've only won one in 18 Test matches before.
One in 17. Give us credit.
Okay, sorry. But there's, and I said those same people who were just overjoyed at how we'd performed against let's face it, a lackluster bowling lineup from New Zealand because of injuries and whatever else. They can't have it both ways because it's going to take time to figure out what Bazball actually means for this team, how each of the individual players are going to play. I think it's a bit of a shit stick to be poking England with.
So I thought it was very funny, to be honest. I thought the way England cricket had managed to hype itself up after beating a New Zealand team that had some serious injury problems 3 times with a ball that didn't really behave like anyone expected it would,
Mm.
with career-defining innings from Root and Bairstow twice. I thought the hype train may have got slightly out of control, if I'm honest, Ross. I wasn't fully on board. I thought actually on Friday night, I was talking about this with Jack, I thought he made some quite good points about what England are actually trying to do with Bazball, and I think it's a little bit closer, at this stage anyway, to creating a situation where they can sometimes compete and beat better teams. The way they had been playing was relatively conservative about reducing the risk with the shots they played, and hoping, I think, or expecting, I think, that they could bring players with a higher skill differential versus the opposition to the table, and that would win. That obviously wasn't working because England's front 11, man for man, are not better than Australia's, are not better than India's, might not be better than New Zealand's. Probably in the last series were because of circumstances. I think it will be a test against South Africa later in the year, who I think are probably home and away better than England as well. And I think Pakistan away will be really interesting as well. Like, if you go up against those teams and you play traditional Test cricket and the other team plays traditional Test cricket, then what's going to happen is that over 5 days you're going to get ground down. And we saw it happen over and over. I mean, in those 17 matches. We saw days, actually, where like Root and Milan would bat for hours and hours in Australia, or in one of the Tests anyway. And it would look like England had a chance. And then the wicket would fall and the better team would grind them down. Last summer, I mean, Root played the most spectacular cricket imaginable. But as soon as he was out of the picture, the team with the most skill ground England down. What you do, I think, by playing Bazball is you add in a whole load of variance and craziness to the game. Because if you just tell, like, if you 50 overs of good batting in a Test match is usually worth 175 runs. Now, it could be worth 300 runs. And regularly is worth 300 runs for this England team. That completely changes, like, the expectations and what might happen in a day. And if you're to some extent, like, well, India are falling into the trap in this match. If you're like India and you do the slow and steady and you get to 300 ahead in your final innings and you think we probably won this match, let's get 75 more and leave them 110 overs to bat or 150 overs to bat. We'll get the wickets, 375. They're never going to chase that. Highest score batting fourth is 281. Play it by numbers. Makes sense for India. Then you're going to bring your more skillful bowlers to bear against that Crawley and Lees and Pope, a weak top order. Hopefully you break through Root and at Bairstow early and you take victory. What happened is that England just didn't do that today. And they haven't done it in the last 2 or 3 matches. They went out and Alex Lees played like a roided up Matt Hayden, as you said.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Like it doesn't conform to what they were supposed to do. And by the time India know what's what, it's a much, much closer game. And even though they get those breakthroughs, it's still, that took England, at that point, when it was 110 for none, England are probably slight favourites. They take the 3 wickets, but still Root and Bairstow. So England still got a third of a chance of winning that match. And India think they're on a roll, and then Root and Bairstow start doing it. No, maybe not as spectacularly as some of the New Zealand games, but still got 5 and over. So Siraj got pumped.
You did get pumped, and you saw it. It rattled them, right? When Lees and Crawley were doing it, they were visibly rattled, and it took Bumrah to produce a couple of moments of magic from him to kind of wrestle back control a little bit. But then once Bairstow and Root went, you can't say it was difficult. There was maybe a half chance when Pant kind of just fell over behind on the leg side.
Dropped Bairstow.
Oh, yeah, because he was way too close. That almost took his head off.
There was a really good Will McPherson tweet who writes for the what's the paper you get in the Tube?
The Cricketer.
The Evening Standard. Maybe
Evening
the Cricketer
Standard.
as well. And he was like, Bairstow's, blown everyone's mind. The slips are way too close, and mid-on and mid-off are standing like 2/3 of the way out. So every time he hits the ball, he gets a single, and when he edges it, he cannot be caught. It's like... It's a perfect world for a batter.
Yeah, perfect. And what I really found hilarious was that, people were getting annoyed at the fact that we were in that position, Jack, in that first innings. And you've just said, how exciting is it now?
It is.
We have to do it this way.
And it gives England a chance. I mean, if England play like England played last summer, they might have moments in this match against India, but India are better. They have
India will
11
win,
better players. So India will win that match 8 out of 10 times, 7 out of 10 times. Well, probably 8 out of 10 times. If playing Bazball, it's probably more like India win 6, lose 4. And of the 7 or 8 out of 10 that India are winning, another one or two of those is going to be a draw. Like England actually don't have much chance playing straight up Test cricket, 11v11, 3 runs and over, block out the new ball, bring Jack Leach on to I don't know, whatever. They can't compete in that.
And this is where I thought India got it wrong. India have seen the last 3 Test matches how England are going to go about it. Right? They've had a month to prepare. And they've kind of just gone, do you know what? We're going to kind of stick to the formula. And there's nothing wrong with sticking to the formula sometimes. But nobody can turn around at this point in time and say that Shardul Thakur was the right decision. And if Ashwin was playing here, I think it's a different game. Regardless of what's ended up happening, I think it's always an element. We talked about that on the preview show. I think they missed a couple of tricks. And you saw with Bumrah's captaincy, Kohli's on the field. Kohli's been in some of these situations, but it was very similar to the South Africa game in Cape Town, where they thought they were going to win. They were in complete control. They let it meander, and it looks like England will get home. Like we could get them pretty easily. We could win by 5 wickets.
I wouldn't count the chickens. I think there's a little way to go, and maybe we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I think that Ashwin call is bizarre. We said it. This isn't said with retrospect. This has been something that we said before the match, or something we said on Friday. We tweeted about it loads. Shardul Thakur brings nothing to this India attack against England
with these balls.
Not
with these balls, right? As well, we know the balls are a problem. It just hasn't worked out at all very well for them. And my view is that you play the man sometimes, not the not the conditions.
Did you see though Ashwin taking diving catches in the outfield to entertain the Holly stand? It's ridiculous, isn't it? You've got the world's best spinner out there doing that in a game where there's like loads of rough. England have got 3 left-handers. It's just perfectly set up for him, and he's like doing circus tricks while Shardul Thakur goes for 4.5 and over without any chance at all of taking a wicket.
I know it was absolute madness.
One more thing tactically that I think they thought was really strange. Jadeja around the wicket. What's going on there?
Well, Ashley Giles used to play for Warwickshire, didn't he? Maybe it was an homage to him because, again, and that comes back to my bit. Like India weren't sure whether they were throwing caution to the wind and trying to win the Test match and be really aggressive, and then they went straight into this like container bubble. I didn't really understand what they were trying to do. We've got good enough players to just block Jadeja out of the attack and just be like, fine, we'll hit some runs off the other people because you can't just bowl Bumrah at the other end. And when the ball's not really moving, Shami isn't as much of a threat. And we can take on Siraj and we can take on Shardul Thakur. So there were singles everywhere for England, and there was always going to be a bad ball here and there that they could put away to the boundary. It was. I
didn't get to the Jadeja thing especially. I mean, a bit like Gill, having a go at Shardul Thakur for being Shardul Thakur in this situation is not, what. He shouldn't be in the team. Like, it's not his fault that they saw some clouds and they remembered the World Test Championship from last year and they were like, oh no, we can't possibly play Ashwin here. Like, it's not his fault that the strategy's wrong and that they've ignored all of the evidence from this summer to pick him.
Pick Akshar Patel.
Jadeja though, like it is within his control to bowl deliveries that might take a wicket. Like the problem with bowling round the wicket into the footholds is that both of the batters, who are both very, very capable players of spin, both of them will just kick every ball at the pitch's outside leg stump or get their pad way outside, so you can't be out LBW. You've removed, isn't it a third of wickets in Test cricket that spinners take are LBWs? So you've immediately 30 of your wickets gone. And Jadeja's a guy who bowls like quick, darty things. That he's like a slide it through the gate, slide it onto the pad bowler.
Which Bairstow has struggled with before, right?
Yeah, so you've got that. So you've taken that out of the game. You've also eliminated bowled because only a real idiot would let you bowl them round their legs when you're in that situation when you literally can just kick it. And I don't really know who you're expecting to catch the ball as well. Like it's very unlikely, I think, that the ball's going to go to slip from that angle, bowling where you are with so much batter in between slip and the ball. The wicketkeeper similarly, what might get one down the leg side if you're really lucky and it kicks out the surface or something like that. And short leg, which they didn't have sometimes, is in theory in the game, but that's one catcher. So what are you doing? I mean, he's gone for 53 runs. There's a little bit of control there, but he might as well just said, look, do you want to just start on 53 and
let's see where it goes from there.
Yeah. I mean, there's no. I mean, how did you see this any differently? Was there a chance that they were going to get wicket? I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. If I was an India fan, I would not have been able to watch this afternoon. I'd have punched my TV screen at some of the decisions made.
But I think that again, it comes down to the pressure, right? We were scoring at a decent lick, like that we were 5 and over after the first 20 overs. We'd already taken like 100 runs out of the game. Like it almost instantly, blink and you'd miss it. And I think that pressure instantly.
If you're India, you can still only win if you bowl England out.
I know, I completely agree, but that's what I mean. We Crawley and Lees, our two worst batsmen in the lineup at the moment, have put them to the sword, and it's rattled them. It has rattled them, and Bumrah can't do everything. So it was. He was very,
quite
very
good
strange.
though. He was quite
good.
Bumrah
was really good. Bumrah is regardless of any
conditions. He can nearly do everything. He's taken a diving catch, pumped a guy with 550 Test wickets. Bowled an amazing spell on the first day, and then either side of T was basically unplayable. Zach Crawley has not really done that much wrong.
No, you can't get annoyed at him really, can you? And I was glad to see him hit some runs. Actually, very glad. There was a bit where he's gone to reverse sweep it for no reason, and it was almost out. And then the umpire spent about 30 minutes trying to figure out what the puff of dust could possibly have been. No, there was just spontaneous combustion on the pitch. Erasmus, what the fuck do you think it is?
That was quite funny. We've got a super chat, Ross, from Sudeep.
Okay. Sudeep, hello, my friend.
And with this actually leads on quite nicely, I think, to what might happen tomorrow. England will definitely win from here. How would you rate the two teams' performances? I would say they were about equal, both making dumb mistakes and also playing very well at times. I think that's probably a fair summary. I think actually India have played,
I'd say India ahead.
Largely the better cricket in the match. But Joe Root is the best batter in the world, and Bairstow is, when the conditions suit him, probably up there as well.
Well, he's definitely the informed batsman at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah.
Let's be
I'm not going to go as far as saying Bairstow's the best batter in the world, but you give Bairstow a flat deck and a ball that isn't swinging, and a couple of bowlers that are a bit leaky. I don't know who else in world cricket is more dangerous in that situation. It might be, Labuschagne might score more runs as an aggregate. I don't think he's going to do it at a strike rate of 100, is he? Like it's
and he's not going to be faced by Mohammad Siraj coming round the wicket with a Matt Henry 2.0 approach and being pumped into the holly stand.
That was bizarre. I know that. I think they were only doing it for one over so that Shami could change ends. Although they made Shami do it, didn't they? The next over, so it was, or Bumrah to change ends. I mean, it was like, what do you think is going to happen here?
I know.
Really shows. So you think India maybe played better cricket as well, or?
I do think so. Yeah, I think they've had us by the balls. I think they did really well to take advantage when the conditions suited them. I thought they batted pretty well in the first innings, really with the Pant and Jadeja partnership, and they had the opportunity today to completely snuff out any England chance. And it's that collapse of 7 wickets for 92 runs that left the Georgia. So England had a collapse in the first innings. India have had one in the second innings, and it leaves it really well poised now because India aren't out of this. Like there's definitely something tomorrow, potentially fresh legs after an early night's sleep, that they can kind of come back and give it a real go. And if you break this partnership, and get Stokes out early, then you're into the tail. Like Billings is okay, but he's not going to cause any chaos, is he? And then the rest of them, in terms of Potts, Anderson, and Broad, they might be good for
20 runs at most.
Yeah. So there's a big chance if they get 2 early wickets tomorrow that they are well in the game. But they looked defeated tonight. They went off that pit. They looked like, what the hell has just happened to us? Like, what have we done here?
Yeah. I think India still have a big chance in this match. there's a bit of catastrophising happening, I think, among India fans and maybe among the Indian players as well about the situation and how dire it is. Look, it's a bad day. It's a bad day. It's a really bad day.
You've got the best bowler and we've got the best fast bowler in world cricket.
Yeah,
you take 2 wickets.
That's it. Yeah, it's gonna have fresh legs in the morning. Weather's gonna be okay. It's not gonna rain, so you're not gonna get out of it that way. But it's not gonna be glorious sunshine. There'll be a
Birmingham.
chance. Yeah. On the other hand, England 18 overs to the new ball. It did reverse swing for a little bit, didn't it? And it looked dangerous. And Shami nearly got root, didn't he?
And they decided to keep Jadeja on. It was reverse swinging, and they kept Jadeja on. It was just like, what are you doing?
I think the 18 overs, it probably will be on the less challenging of the challenging to not challenging end of the spectrum. What do you rate it? You got 100%, 0% for the draw. England, I think 80.
Oh, it is 2 wickets. It is like if you get one of the. I reckon a little bit less. I reckon in this situation, based upon previous performance and what we know about the cricketers, I think, I'll go 75%. 75%. Let's see what's.
Well,
but I think there is. Yeah, I think it's just one of those games which could go either way. And that morning session, again, so important. And England were in the same situation at Lords against New Zealand, right? The game was in the balance there. Joe Root and Ben Foakes came out with not a lot of batting left after them and did really well. They showed intent from the off. And we might well see that tomorrow. And if they can complete it, what a massive victory it will be for England.
It would be the best thing they've done in Test cricket since winning in Chennai. It's pretty incredible. But as a team, I think especially, it would be unbelievable, all-round improvement from a month ago.
Oh, and that's the new manager bounce.
They win in Chennai because Root was having a freak moment, wasn't he? And it would be incredible. It would be genuinely incredible against that bowling attack to chase those runs.
Yeah, and I just think that India have let themselves down in some areas, but there's still things to be positive about.
All right, we've got a couple of questions from the twit. Jack, who was on the show the other day, by how many years has facing 76 balls extended Zach Crawley's career?
Well, he was averaging about 3 before he hit some runs today, and I thought actually did a pretty good job. He left really well outside off stump, which he should be doing anyway as an opening batsman. So we're kind of giving him credit for just doing his job, as Roy Keane would say. But who now gets the hold of the South Africa summer? He gets that whole thing.
I think definitely. I think that 45 is worth 3 tests minimum.
Yeah. I think him and Lees both are going to play out the rest of the summer. And for Lees, I'm not too fussed about that. He's got some decent balls. He's looked okay. Hasn't quite got the big score, but it feels like it's just round the corner. He's got a little bit unlucky. And
he'll also get sympathy for being run out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
It's always, if he'd been bowled next ball, we'd have forgotten about it. We'd been
if he was bowled for 65, another 10 runs or so, we'd be like, his questions. He's not really done much. He's not really pressed on. Now he's been run out twice and badly twice.
Probably the best thing in some ways the best things that could have happened to him.
Yeah, 2 absolute nuts. That ball from Bumrah was fucking good, and then the one from Bolt the other day was even better.
And he has a good shocked face. He looks right up when he's out. He does the ooh that people do when they're shocked.
What I thought,
he looks right at the camera.
When he's got the helmet on, he kind of furrows his brow, and as you know, the comedian Kevin Bridges, the Scottish comedian, he looks like that. If you take that a still of them side by side, couldn't tell the difference.
So. Tilal says, Bazball is a great strategy at home, but what about away in Ahmedabad with the pink ball? Well, I mean, what I'd say about that is it couldn't have got any worse, could it? I mean, it's England will never win one of those matches.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Unless, they don't have the spinners to bowl a team out for 80, which is basically what you need.
Yeah, was that the game that Joe Root took 5 for 8?
Yeah.
Yeah. We do with the spinners, mate.
Yeah. And I think that might be it. Any questions in the chat?
There's one from Bumrah saying, Jack, do you want to talk about how badly your team got spanked on Saturday? So perhaps he plays for that team. Who knows?
Could do. Yeah, we batted first. The umpire had a nightmare. We still managed to get 225 or 223, something like that. Like an okay score in 40 overs, 5.5 and over. Just on the umpire, he gave out our best player caught behind when he was nowhere near the ball. It was a little bit more a little bit more for forgiveness or sympathy rather for that one, because it was a good ball and it sort of exploded out the pitch. But I was standing side on and it went miles over his hands, like a foot over his hands. And then he gave another wicket, a bump ball, caught at cover. It was like, well, actually, you know what happened, Ross? He said not out, and then the other team sort of did another appealed for about a conservative estimate. They appealed for a minute. And then the umpire, I guess, thought to himself, I must have got something wrong here. Like this, I can't be right. And so he just put his finger up, like a full minute or more after giving it not out. He went out, and then there was a big discussion about whether it was out or not. So he blamed the batter. He said that the batter had admitted that he hit the ball in the air, and I was like, Zeal, did you? And like, while the umpire was standing next to us both, and he was like, no, I didn't say that. Like, what are you talking about? Then he blamed the non-striker, who also was like, no, I didn't say that. Then he blamed the square leg umpire, who was like, I couldn't see because the ball's on the other side of the batter. So basically, it was like, there was no evidence whatsoever this should have been out, apart from the 1 minute long appeal.
Maybe that's where we go wrong. Maybe that is where we don't
long enough.
We need to appeal more and for an extended period of time.
Yeah,
that's what we need.
Anyway, we got 223. It didn't really matter. They chased it very, very easily. In under 30 overs, somebody got 100. We actually had some good bowlers, and they weren't that fazed by that. So it wasn't. Sometimes you can in that league score a lot of runs against some quite average bowling. Like we had some people who knew what they were doing. Didn't matter. Didn't matter at all. Right, any final messages?
From Sheikh Beck, he's got India cool. F ya in super chat. So thank you very much for that. If you do want to support the show, go to Patreon/The Cricket Podcast and sign up for Discord and sign up for the access that you get and the special shows, etc. And Amit Dubey, yes, always claim the catch. That is a great advice, as we saw in this Test match.
We did get a good make-up call actually. Just go back to Saturday. There was an LBW that was going maybe 2 feet down the leg side. Like I was standing at slip and I was running to leg slip to go and field the ball because I thought I was going to go past the wicketkeeper. And appealed as like I thought I knew there was a make-up call on the cards because the umpire had definitely blown it and he knew, we all knew. And so I just went, how's that? I was the only one to appeal. And like he was so fast. Before anyone had done anything, he'd given it. And this poor guy, his whole weekend ruined. So yeah, that was
we've all had that, funny. Mate. All had that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you ever so much for watching and listening. I hope you've enjoyed the show. It's going to be one hell of a Test match finale tomorrow. I don't think India play again until like winter. In terms of
they
Test
play
match.
England on Wednesday in the T20.
But in terms of Test cricket. So yeah, we've got to make the most of it.
Back out. Is it going to be the?
Who knows? Who knows?
The world's direst top order.
Well, we'll cover it all.
Here's another thing, though. We like just to finish off the show. We did speculate whether England's Test team would be able to beat India's T20 11 that they put out against was it South Africa recently. I think we got some evidence today that they probably would. I think in this Test we've seen enough evidence to be reasonably sure that England's Test team is a better T20 team than the 11 that India fielded against South Africa.
Well, that's if that's not going to get us subscribers, I don't know what will. Right, goodbye, everybody.